What's up, YouTube? This here is Wreckage, and I'm bringing you the fourth episode of my Magic the Gathering tutorial. Now, in the previous three episodes, I told you about lands and how to tap them for mana to play spells. And then in the second video, I showed you all the different kinds of spells there are. Then third, I showed you the main portion and main winning of Magic is the combat phase. Oh yeah. Yeah, attacking and blocking combat phase, it's the same thing. Now, this is, I believe, I think this is gonna be like the fourth base. The fourth basic like pillar of basics of Magic the Gathering is this last video right here, because I've taught you lands, I've taught you the card types, I've taught you, I told you how to play your spells. You tap the lands, and if it equals the converted mana cost, like on this thing, not sure if you could see it, if I could get it real close there. See this card? It costs 1 and a red. So I told you how to do that. You just tap a mountain and tap another land, and then you can play the spell from your hand. Now, I'm going to get right into this portion of the video where I talk about the phases of the game. This is the steps of the turn, basic breakdown of a turn in Magic the Gathering. Now, there are 5 main steps you need to worry about, and sort of not even the last one really, but these are the 5 main categories of your steps. You have the beginning of your turn, your first main phase, the combat step, your second main phase, and the last step, which is the end step. Now, each one of these breaks down into tinier portions, and the way those work, I'm going to be getting them in this video too. So I'm not going to go into details on how the game actually like starts, but I will go into the different phases of a turn, because Magic is a turn-based strategy game. You know, players take turns casting their spells, attacking and blocking on their turns, and so on and so forth. So, we're going to go to the beginning of a turn. The beginning of your turn breaks down into 3 small steps. There's your untap step, your upkeep, and your draw step. Now, you don't really say upkeep step, it's not really stuff, and upkeep is only a conditional thing you have to worry about anyways. So, at the beginning of your turn, the very first thing you do is untap everything on your field that is tapped. So, if you attacked with some creatures last turn, let's say these 2 bird guys, they're tapped, the first thing you would do is untap them and any other tapped card you have. The next thing you do is your upkeep. Now, some cards can trigger on your upkeep. The only thing the upkeep is actually for is to keep track of abilities of cards. So I'm not going to really go into it right now, because you might not even have to worry about it. So just keep in mind that if a card says upkeep, it's referring to the time between untapping your stuff. It happens immediately after you untap and immediately before you draw. So the first thing you do in your turn should be untapping, and then the next thing you should worry about is there anything on the battlefield with an upkeep ability. If not, draw your card, continue your turn. So once again, don't draw before your untap step, because that's technically wrong, and if you do it... Oh, shit. That was really weird. My screen just blanked. Anyway. What was I saying? Right. Before you do anything in your turn, remember, untap, upkeep, draw. Untap, upkeep, draw. That should be going through your mind every single time you start your turn. And you'll get it down eventually. You know, the more you play, the more you'll get it. So, next phase. Oh, is your main phase. The main phases can break down into... It's just the main phase. That's just where you spend the time in your turn thinking of what you want to do. You play lands, 1 a turn, you cast spells, from your hand, of course. Play lands from your hand, cast spells from your hand, activate abilities. You can activate abilities of things that are on the battlefield that'll allow you to activate their abilities, and that's generally that's all you do in that step is just think about what you want to do. The next is the combat step, and that's the trickiest. The combat step, which I covered in the last video, breaks down into 4 smaller steps. The beginning of combat. So this is the combat. So before you declare your attackers, you can't just jump right in. There's actually a median step that says, hey, if anything happens during this step, it happens. It's kind of like your upkeep, except this is also the step where if you have a card that says, oh, I don't know, say your opponent has an instant, and I covered this in the second video. Instants can be cast at any time, so even on your opponent's turns. They're the only cards that you can cast on your opponent's turns, with the exception of flashbacks. But in intermediate rules, actually, I think this might be the last of the basic videos that I'm doing. So the next, I'll move into like intermediate skills for Magic people, and that's when I get into like the exceptions of things, because this is supposed to be just the basics. So the beginning of your combat, I'm not really going to go into it that much, but just be aware that at the beginning of the combat, there's a little time period where your opponent can be like, hold on, before you declare your attackers, I'm going to think about something that I want to do. Obviously, then the next is to declare your attackers. Tap creatures to attack with them. Declare your blockers. If they're attacking you with something, that's when you would throw your creature in front of them. And remember, creatures don't block. Only creatures creatures don't tap to block. Only attacking creatures do. And then, once everything has been declared, once blockers have been set in place and nobody has anything else to do, then all the damage is done at once. In this step right here. Nobody can do anything about it, just all the damage is done right there. And then, your second main phase. I have Playland, cast spells, activate abilities. It's the same thing again. The only reason I have an asterisk or a star next to Playland is because this is not saying play another land. This is saying Playland if you haven't already, because you can only play one a turn, so you can either play one in your first or your second main phase. It's up to you. Usually it depends on the play, but then again, that's an advanced skill. We'll get into that later. And then finally, the last step is the end step, which actually has 2 small steps. It's the end step and then the cleanup step. The end step is saying, okay, I'm ending my turn. There's a little step where cards that have abilities that activate at the end of the turn happen during that step. And the cleanup step is where it's not really a beginner concept, and most of the time, actually, I'd say 95% of the time, the cleanup step doesn't even matter. But it just says, okay, it wipes everything off from your board, or it wipes all abilities and everything else off the stack. Once again, advanced concept, so unless you're already an advanced person or would like to know more, don't listen to me on that one. Just the cleanup step is there. I'll cover it. I'll cover it in one of the advanced videos, depending on what actually you know what. Yeah, I will cover it in an advanced video because there is a lot more like little scrutinous things that can be said about the turn. So, just a quick rundown again. 5 main steps you got to worry about. At the beginning, always remember untap before you do anything else on your turn. Then upkeep abilities, then you draw your card. Main phases are the exact same thing. Play lands, cast spells, activate abilities. Combat, remember, hold up a bit, and then, oh geez, how am I doing this? Yeah. Declare your attackers, declare your blockers, damage. Same thing for the first main step, and end your turn. There's a little thing here. So that's it for this video, and I believe that concludes all the basic tools you'll need to start actually playing Magic the Gathering, and I will start those videos sometime soon. So, thank you all for watching. You can subscribe for more, and I know I didn't mention this before, but I have played some videos in the past with a couple of my friends, GeneralAugust and Slav Motion, or Slav for short, we call him. So you can take a look. I think I have GeneralAugust's link to his channel in the description, and Slav's Twitter is also there, and my Twitter is also there, so you can follow me on Twitter. I don't know. I think I'm pretty funny. If not, call me stupid. I don't care. And yeah, so have a nice day, everybody. Thanks for watching. See ya.